Welcome to Quick Take. I'm Susie Tomanchek, along with my great host, James Capps, my favorite host,
Yay!
co-host.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited that I made the top 5 list this time.
I'm excited today because we have a professional comedian joining us today to give us some tips. So welcome, Stephanie McHugh.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Susie and James. It's great to be here.
That's super
We're very
fun.
excited. And just to make sure that we're all clear, Steph was also my roommate in college. I'm just going to put it out there.
Oh, well, that would
That's
make
great.
anybody funny.
So please email Stephanie@StephanieMcHugh.com for any fun pictures of Susie.
All right.
Late 80s.
Episode is over. We're done. So James and I were talking. I had told him I'd love to have Steph on. She would be really interesting to take a lens of her world and apply it to executives. So James, what did you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic. And I think, so many times as leaders, we want to engage and have a good rapport with our folks. And humor is a natural human way of doing that. And so we thought Steph could help us come up or identify, 3 or maybe with a bonus ways that you can incorporate humor into your leadership style.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. But before you go, tell us a little about yourself and then
let's get some extra here.
Yeah, give us some extra. Okay. What do you do?
I always loved stand-up comedy. I lived in Chicago in my 20s, but never jumped on the opportunity to start until I moved back to Colorado and I had 2 small kids. And I kind of thought, why aren't I doing things that I want to do? And I wasn't necessarily had the ambition to be a stand-up comedian, but I kind of I did acting in high school. So I took an acting class and then I took an improv class. And then I met another improv who said, you should really try stand-up comedy. And so I did. And Comedy Works in downtown Denver is a great club. I mean, it's nationally known. And so I just started checking out the open mics and went on stage for the first time, which was great. And then I went on again the second time, which was horrible. I think it's kind of like childbirth. The first time, you don't know what to expect. So it's not that bad. And the second time, you kind of know. And then you're you freak out beforehand. And then there was auditions for the Las Vegas Comedy Festival, 9 months after I'd started. So I won a trip to the Las Vegas Comedy Festival, and that kind of helped sort of shift it to, working at it. I didn't always do it full time. I found it kind of challenging for myself to travel with the kids. I tried it for a little while. I know a lot of women who successfully do it, but I didn't really travel then too terribly far until they were out of the house, till I was an empty nester. Yeah. So then, I started doing that. And then the pandemic really kind of was so hard because it was 2 years after the kids had left.
Sure.
And I felt like I was finally getting my groove, and then bam. But it also really helped me realize how much I just literally love going on stage. And So
now you do it full time.
Now I do it full time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I also do voiceover too in my closet.
Oh,
that's a side note. I didn't tell you guys about that ahead of time. So, yeah.
In the closet.
In the closet. In the back of the closet.
You were just a multi-talented individual. You got all sorts of interesting things going on.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So talk to us about leadership. How could we take that experience that you have and tell us some ways that leaders can apply humor or tips for doing so?
Yeah, I have 3 weird tips on how to use humor in your next presentation.
Okay.
So number 1,
go.
Don't freak out, but also don't freak out. So
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Good. Now let's go on to number 2. There's going to be a test at the end, so no pressure. But kind of took me a while. And I think when I first started, I thought I should just be able to go on stage and, with the kids. And I find I like to take a little bit of time just to get in the right mindset. And I am a laid back, I kind of have a calming voice naturally. So I want to make sure that I'm me. I don't, so it wouldn't be natural for me to be like, hey, hi, how you guys, being
Right,
too,
right.
it wouldn't be authentic. But I also don't want to be how I might be if I'm just, talking at home, because it might be too low energy. So that's
Mhm.
my deal. That's not everybody's. So
Right.
I just try to make sure that I am myself. I kind of up it a little bit to sort of project that
Amplify.
out,
Yep.
amplify without trying to be something that I'm not. And I always kind of think of, I loved watching The Office. Did you guys watch The Office?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
So there was one time where Dwight was going in for I think he was going in for a job interview or a performance review. So he went in the hallway and he takes his tape recorder and he puts on like heavy metal music and he just
Yep.
kicking,
Yep. Yeah.
he's getting himself
Amping his
pumped
energy
up.
up, getting him all
Ramping
excited.
him.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, I will visualize the people coming, I'm like, somebody got a babysitter. They spent the week
Mm,
getting a babysitter. She's getting all dressed up and they're going out for date night and I'm going to make it fun. Sometimes I kind of
amazing.
miss how fun stand-up comedy was before I did it. I mean, I love
Right.
doing it, but if it makes sense, I kind of know behind the green curtain.
Yep.
So
Yeah, totally
so
does.
don't freak out. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, but also don't freak out,
Yeah.
if
You know,
that
it's
makes
it's
sense.
totally makes sense. And gosh, I think we've done at least 4 episodes talking about how no matter what you're doing, whether it's stand-up comedy, talking to your leadership team, board meetings, when you are yourself, when you are your genuine self and not trying to be something you're not, you are so much more effective. You are such much better communicator, and you're going to get your story across, whether it's your set or whether it's your budget. Acting in your genuine self, I think it turns out to be the best piece of advice. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's good too. And in a negotiation as well, when you
Hmm.
pretend to be somebody you're not building that relationship. And that might get somebody to kind of go against you because they don't sense that you're being authentic. And they might sense that you're trying to take advantage of them. So I love that.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's a great point.
And another thing too, I'm always sometimes like I may be tired, I may be performing on a cruise ship, so you had to take the red eye to Miami
Mm,
and in the whole day getting on the ship and you don't know until you get on the ship. Okay, I've got 2 shows tonight. So I might be tired. I would do that in the beginning, but still in the middle, I can catch myself. And so
Mhm.
it's just always a constant adjustment. So don't
right, right.
worry if you're in the middle of it and you feel like, oh, just shift it and keep
Just
going.
adjust. All right, that's a
Yeah.
great one. Okay, what's your second one?
Okay. Remember the unexpected in the movie Pretty Women? Again, I'm totally dating myself. I noticed.
That's okay.
Remember a movie from 30 years ago? Everyone who's under the age of 30.
Yes, I think our audience knows that movie.
There is one scene where Richard Gere, they're getting ready to go to the opera, fly to the opera, and he opens up the jewelry case to
Of
show
course,
the
iconic.
necklace.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he claps it shut and
Yeah.
Julia Roberts laughs.
Yep.
That is a totally unscripted moment. And they
Mm,
say that's the moment that made Julia Roberts a star. That
Wow.
interesting.
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
So both of them, he and I think too, Julia Roberts, they were tired or something. So Richard Gere said, just kind of told the cameraman or the director, Gary Marshall, I'm going to do this. But they both were authentic and in the moment.
Yeah.
So if something happens, like for me, if a glass falls, but you really want to of course you really want to do well, but be in the moment and adjust to what's going on.
Mhm.
Again, it's
I,
really slight, but like you both said, being connected and being
mhm.
present.
Yeah, I love that as well, and I feel like so often we spend so much time preparing for meetings, preparing for conversations, and the the most effective ones are the ones that end up not as you expected. Um, I can't even count the number of presentations that I've had put together that had 20 slides that I only got to slide number 2,
Mhm.
and so being ready for the unexpected, I think, is absolutely key, and that's just going to happen. And I think if you can take advantage of that, then that's a huge win.
And I think we prepare so much that we think it's good that you're seasoned enough to know to stop at slide 2 if they got it
Right.
or that it landed or they
Right.
said yes. But
Sure.
sometimes when you're more junior, you're like, oh, but I had 10 slides. Wait, we're going to go
Right.
to, we're going to keep going. And you're like, stop. So adjust in
Yep.
the
Yep.
moment. So like being intentional.
Yeah. That's
Love
a good
it.
one.
All right. What's
Exactly.
the third one?
The third one is always, always, always hit the red button. So
Do tell me more.
Okay.
which sounds dirty, but it's not. Always
It
record
didn't until you
yourself.
said that.
That's what I thought too.
All right. Now we have to change the rating on this episode, but
I
go.
think so.
Uh, always record yourself. I can't tell you
No.
how many times I will be saying something and people will laugh and I'll go, what did I just do right there? Or you may be trying something
Right.
new or something organically,
Mm.
may have happened. For example, what if I was doing a joke and something happened? I said something, made a big laugh. It's improv then, but you can add it later. Or
Sure.
maybe
Sure.
Oh.
something didn't work and you go back
Mm.
and listen and you're like, oh, it's because for me, most often, is I kind of trip up very slightly on the
One thing.
words.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And a confused mind isn't really going to laugh. So you may
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, that's not funny. But if you don't listen back to it and go and, kind of analyze, you may not know why they didn't laugh.
Right. Right. You know what? Ultimately, what you're saying is, there's power in the retrospective, right? And as
Mhm.
leaders, and as when I have a team, I always love to go back and say, all right, let's take a look at what we did, what worked, what didn't work, and doing that intentionally, right? As a comedian, you're on stage and you realize a joke didn't work. Well, you may remember that joke didn't work, but boy, the recording gave you, oh, it was the confusing setup, or it was the
Mhm.
stumbling on that word. We're the same with executives. You have to go back and look and see, where did we really fall down. We thought it was this, but it turned out we didn't have enough resources here. The retrospective and having a good, honest, and effective retrospective is critical to success. I love it.
I do too. And it also amplifies the fact that we're always shifting and getting better. And so
Mm-hmm,
being
mm-hmm.
open to that, to pressing the red button so
Right.
that you can look back and
Sure.
understand that, we're always progressing.
Exactly right. I
Right.
won't ask you, Susie, how many of these episodes you've watched, but that's exactly the point.
I don't watch, full disclosure, all my sets too. But if something happens, then
Right.
I
Right.
will go back and, listen to it.
Totally great. That's
And
great.
sometimes
God,
I'll
those are
listen
3
to it
great ones.
yeah, at speed and a half because I sometimes get so
Oh yeah.
uncomfortable. So I'll
Yeah.
switch
Yeah.
it up a little bit so that it doesn't feel,
No,
just get
that's great. Great advice. And then you had a bonus one, I think. Is that what I heard when
I
you started?
have a bonus one. I
Love it.
Wow.
a recipe for snickerdoodles. I got my grandma's cookbook, Betty Crocker's 1963,
Amazing.
and it has snickerdoodles from like Mrs. Gary Smith. So they didn't even, if you were married, they didn't even use your name.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even catch that. Yeah. It's so crazy.
But why would it be snickerdoodles as opposed to like chocolate chips or something?
Sure.
Do tell us.
Snickerdoodles is a funnier word. So
It's
I'm
true.
always looking for, and it's specific. So if you want to just add a little bit of humor, Christopher Titus talks about sometimes
Mm,
he's just trying to keep the feather up. He doesn't want to let it, let it fall to the ground. So if you're just trying to put a little bit here, put a little bit there,
hmm
kind of look over something and see how can I be either more specific, or put a funnier word without changing the story. So I'm giving you a cookie recipe. It's just not going to be sugar cookies or something. It's
Right.
snickerdoodles.
Snickerdoodles.
I like
And
that.
for another example would be I do a joke about my science teacher in junior high.
Hmm
I say it was Mrs. Oljanowski in front of the science lab.
Right.
It was really Mrs. Newport. But to me, I feel like Mrs. Oljanowski,
So much funnier.
my ex-husband, Sugar Nuts, I call him, grew up on the south side of Chicago. So I just sort of have an endearment to the south side of Chicago and all the names,
Oh
of
yeah.
the Polish neighborhood that he grew up in. So I picked that because to me, it felt like it paints more of a imagery in the audience's mind.
Yeah. That's
I
right up
love
your
it.
alley, James. James talks about storytelling and being real
Hmm
descriptive about something, and that helps people pay attention.
Yeah, I think it's important that you bring people with you in your conversations, and I do. I have names and I have stories that I tell, and yeah, they're intended to engage. They are intended to keep the feather up. Um,
Yeah.
we use example. I love that Titus analogy that he uses, and I love the fact that sometimes it's important to use language, words, examples that resonate with the audience. And so often when I'm communicating ideas, you have to use analogies, you have to use use cases, and you have to use and you have to know your audience. I'm preparing for a presentation right now, and I'm taking everything I have to keep it from getting really nerdy because this group has an attention span. I have 15 minutes, and I'll probably get 5. And so I have
Oh,
to change my
Hmm.
story. I have to know how to grab them. I have to use Mrs. Oljanowski versus Mrs. Smith. And I
yeah.
think that's a really great way of looking at the way that we communicate as leaders. Love that. Love
I
that.
love
Love
it.
that.
All right, what'd you hear, James? Tell us
So let me
what are
see
the
if I can
tips?
wrap these up. I'm gonna do a horrible job. I can't even begin that with the fun little ways you put it. I think the first one was don't freak out, but also don't freak out. Stay on target. And then the second one was sometimes the you got to be prepared for the craziness. If somebody's going to close the jewelry case on your hand, then you've got to be prepared to respond to that. And I think that's really important. And then always look back, look at the retrospective. Don't forget to hit the red button, look at the recording, understand where you made mistakes. And then obviously the good one is speak to people where they are, use the language, use stories. Good communicators find ways to reach their audience, whether you're a comedian or whether you're a professional coach. Speaking to people where they are is huge.
Awesome. I love the alignment. There's so much
It's
alignment. Like
so
when you were
interesting.
talking, it was super interesting to see kind of the techniques that you use on stage are things that we use as executives every day as well.
Well, and I think the reality is there's humans involved, right? And that's a huge
Yeah.
part of it.
Yes.
It's yeah.
And both of us are talking to drunk people, right? That's another thing we have in common. No?
That is
Okay.
true. Yes, I'm not saying at the company I work at now, but I have worked at companies where I'm certain that the people in the room were not sober.
Oh boy. And with that, thank you, Steph. Thank you so much for being here. And
On topic.
yeah, it
Thank
was great.
you. It
Yeah.
was it was a pleasure. I hope I wasn't too wordy. I forgot we were doing 15 minutes. You need to give me a light next time, but it was a
Well,
lot of fun. I could just talk forever. Yeah. Thank
we
you.
needed we needed a tight 10, and you gave us a 20, so we're feeling pretty
We're
good about
good.
it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And maybe we'll do this again. Maybe we'll do another kind of lens on this topic. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Thanks, James, as always.
As always.
Feel free to share this with somebody that needs to put some more humor in their worlds or whatever. Just share it with other people. We'd love that. And both James and I are on LinkedIn. and we'd love to hear from you. So reach out to us. And as all of us, I'll speak for all three of us, we appreciate you for taking your time to being here with us today on Quick Take. Have a good one.